Hey guys, welcome to episode 13 now. I need to rename this to 12 because we're on 13 now of making an online Pokemon game in Game Maker Studio 2. In this episode, I would like to fix that bug that we've been having. Let's see if I can make it happen. We're going to Band-Aid fix it because I don't know the issue. That little zigzagging there, don't know what's causing it. There, don't know what's causing it. Again, don't know. I don't know the reason exactly, but what I do know is that at some point, Delta X and Delta Y here under the player data update position are both true at the same time. They're both trying to be updated at once, and that's not supposed to happen. It should be one or the other. So what I don't understand is why. Why is Delta X and Delta Y being set at the exact same time? But I know how to Band-Aid fix that, and that is to check if they are being active at the same time, and if so, stop it. Just stop it. So what we're going to do is say if Delta X doesn't equal 0 and Delta Y doesn't equal 0, so they're both trying to be modified at the same time, then what we're going to do is we're going to say if the absolute value of Delta X is less than the absolute value of Delta Y, then we're just going to prioritize whoever has the bigger difference. So I will say position.x equals target x, and we'll set delta x equal to 0. Else, we're going to do the opposite. I'm going to say position.y equals target y. That should be dot y. And delta y is 0 now. And again, this isn't fix the problem at its root, but it does work and it looks fine. So if I run this, it's really hard to test and prove that it works, but I did test it. It seems to work. I haven't seen it appear at all, but whoops, that's a bug. But that's kind of a bug. If you hold down the left key and then you tab out and release the key, you'll keep moving because you don't register the key release event. We could fix that. It's not that big of a deal right now. It's only happening because we're testing things. This happens in a lot of games actually, but you just got to come back in and press the key again to make it register that you release the key. Okay, anywho, now what are we going to do? I want to deal with some kind of cleanup. Not cleanup, but making things look a little nicer. For one, if I connect a new player right now, so right now this person is facing left, and if I run a new player, it'll say that we're both facing up. We don't want that. So we're going to fix it, because as you can see, on this person it's facing up, on this person it's facing left. So what we need to do is predefine what direction we're facing. And I believe we do that in the server code. So if we go to the server and we scroll down to when we actually connect the player, we need to give it a direction now. We need to tell it what direction we're going to face. But before that, I would like to... Oh, no, we'll do it now. We'll just do it here. So we are writing down the player's position and ID. We're telling the player, hey, this is your ID, this is your position. That's fine. But here, when we create this player list and we tell the new player, these are all your old players, we need to tell him that we need to add some information here and say this is what direction they are facing. And we can do this pretty simply with a buffer unsigned 8. There's only 4 possible directions, up, down, left, and right, so it's pretty easy. And the value is just direction. And accidentally turned on insert. Get rid of that. So yep, so we're just going to write out the player's direction. And now, if I come into the data client, when we actually handle that value, the player list, we need to read it. So I'm going to say... let's add this as a variable up here. So direction. And if I scroll back down, we can set direction equal to network.read, and we set it to buffer U8. So now we have the direction of the player. So I can simply set it here. We'll need a player variable. So underscore P is the player, and I'm just going to set P's dot direction equal to that direction right off the bat. Also, under the player controller, when we say make, well, actually no, under the player data, at the very top, when we set the direction, we're setting it to 0 right now. I'm going to actually set that to just be down by default. So now, if we run this, and I run a client, for one, we're facing down. If I move to the right, and I run a new player, the new player now knows what the direction is. So if I just add in some more directions here, and I run a new program, this new player here, the screen person, now recognizes what direction everyone is facing. Second thing I want to add, really not important, I'm going to randomize which player, which character is being displayed. I'm kind of getting sick of always seeing the same few players, so that should be pretty easy. We can just randomize it. But what really matters is in the player, or the player data right here, we're storing a frame, and right now we're just basing the sprite on what the ID is, but now we need to actually store this as a separate variable. We'll call it sprite equals 0 for now. Yeah, we'll default it to 0. And if I scroll down to where I say render 4x4 sprite, instead of it using the ID, we'll set it to use the sprite. Also, this var_c color thing, all this color stuff can go away. Don't need that anymore. So now that should be good. That is using the sprite instead of the ID. So now we need to set it. So we're going to randomize it in the server code. So if we go to the server code, when we create this player, we need to randomize it. So how do we do that? We're going to say p.sprite equals, and how do we get a random sprite? We're going to do randomize, or sorry, just random, and the value is between 0, and we have to do random I, actually. No, random I. Is that not a thing anymore? There used to be a random I that would just return a random, discrete integer. But maybe that's not a thing anymore. Let me check something. If I middle mouse click random, return value from 0 to 100, but the values can be a decimal. You can use real numbers and not integers in the function, like 0.5. Yeah, maybe you can't do real or random I anymore. That's a shame. So we'll just have to do it by hand. We'll have to floor it, which is fine. I can do random sprite length. How do you get the sprite's frames? Sprite get something, I'm sure. Get number, I think it is. And the sprite is just trainer painter. And this should, yep, the a sprite has to have at least one subimage, and this function will return just how many it has. So we're going to randomize it, and then I'm going to floor it. Sorry about that again. And then we need to send this. And we need to send this in all the different places, which is kind of sucks, but that should be fine. This is going to be a buffer U8, because we don't need that many. We will not need more than 255. And then I'm going to do p.sprite for what we're sending. I'm going to copy this line of code. We'll paste it within this endPlayer list. Tab that in. And then we're also going to paste it right here when we send the new player. So now, on top of receiving the ID, the X, and the Y position, we're also receiving what the sprite index is. So if we go to onData server, and no, on data client, my bad. Well, you can start adding this. So first of all, we'll need a underscore sprite variable at the top here, and I will start reading them. So under NID, we need to get that here, network.read. This is a buffer U8. I'm going to copy this because we're going to need this a few times. And here I can store it here. So this is where we create the player. So I'm going to say underscore p equals that. And then, oops, did not want to do that. Why are there so many tabs there? And then we'll say p dot sprite equals underscore sprite. Just like that. Under the new player, I want to paste this line in. So we're reading the sprite. And then here we need to do the same thing. We'll store this as a variable and say p dot sprite equals underscore sprite. So we'll set the sprite there, and then we'll do it under the new player list as well. So after we read the direction, I don't know if we did it before or after the direction. I'll check here in a second, but then we need to set p's dot sprite equal to that sprite. And that's everywhere it happens. So let me just make sure that sprite is happening after the direction. So if I go back to the server up here, nope, it looks like we're doing sprite then the direction. So let's flip those around so it's direction then sprite. Gotta make sure you get that ordering correct, otherwise things will look a little funky. But other than that, we should be able to run this code now. And if I execute one player, it got the green character. And if I run another one, it is this scientist dude. But we obviously have an issue here where it's setting everybody to that sprite. A little odd. Let me check one more character. So it only, why is it, are there only that many characters? So it looks like only the new person who's receiving everyone else is getting the wrong sprites. So that should be an easy enough fix. I think I can figure out where that's at. Yep, it's right here. So we're passing in p.sprite. That should have been other p.sprite. And now let's run this. Execute this first character, execute the second. We can move this around. It should be good. A third character just happens to be the green character. And actually, it's the male version. So that's fine. Execute a fourth one. It's a scientist again. We should also, while we're here, at the top of this server, well, not even the top of the server, go to O network control, create event. Very top, we'll just do randomize. Otherwise, we'll get the same few characters every single time. If we go to the trainer painter right now, how many images do we have? We only have like 7, is that around? I don't know the exact number. Let's add more. So let's come into here. We'll go to the last one and we'll just add in a bunch. And I don't know what these NPCs look like, to be honest. Basically the same. We can add the NPCs too. Why not? Just add them all. So there's all the, ooh, that's not what we wanted. Apparently this NPCs have a different size than the actual players. So that's something to know. I didn't know that. But for now, this is fine then, I guess. It might be a little awkward if we get the swimming people. But it's fine. I mean, it works. So let's run a player. And of course, we just happen to get the swimming player. Well, it should be fine. It's not that big of a deal. We could remove them if we wanted to, but I kind of think it's funny. And there we go. We have some players moving in the screens. They can all move around. Everything's updated. It's looking good. Let's add a fourth player. This angry man. And disconnecting should also still work just fine. And if I run another one, it'll be a new player, new position, and everything. Eventually, we'll have to have profiles, huh? So we'll have to like make it so you can log into your character and be like, hey, this is my new player, and store that on the server. That'll all be nice and fun. We now have 2 angry guys over here. Let me make them face each other. There we go. We can add a whole bunch of things into like shops. We'll obviously have to have Pokemon battles and Pokemon teams, and so that'll all be fun. Next time, I said this last time about collisions. We'll have to do that next time now. Collisions next, and then we're gonna get some graphics in the world. Actually, well, before graphics, we'll get a camera working, because right now, there's not really a camera at all. There's just there's just one screen. So we'll get the camera to work, which will be a nice, fun thing to do. With the camera, we'll also be getting some ability to resize the screen and make it look better. That should be fine to do. I don't have to worry for a Pokemon game whether or not one character can see a little more off the edges than the other, so we won't have to worry about that too much. But yeah, I guess we have a plan. So that's going to do it for this episode. Luckily, it was a bit shorter than normal. So until next time, guys, I'll see you later.